ladies and gentlemen, apparently some emails have just lost Joe Biden the election. It's over. Call it. I don't even know why we're having a debate. According to hippie Alex Jones, Rusty Trombone himself, and I quote, "These emails just lost him the election." Now, you'll notice that you're like, which him? Obviously, you and I think it's Biden because of whatever his thumbnails are. Let's see if it reloads the thumbnail. I doubt it. Yeah, there you go. That's the thumbnail. But if you're just reading this, and a lot of the, is there just like a YouTube class you take on the shocked face? Do I have to make a bunch of those now? Like every fucking YouTube video has to have the host has to do a Home Alone fucking face? It's so weird. All right. These emails just lost him the election, which could be Trump as well. Also, 10% off Black Forest supplements. So, there's going to be an ad in the middle of this. Let me guess, there's a little thing at the top that says contains paid promotion.
Your President Joe Biden has been using secret pseudonyms to conceal his identity. Maybe that's connected to the fact that Donald Trump was right. Millions were made in those energy deals with China and the Ukraine.
No, those aren't related. And all those emails are government emails. They are stored and kept because of that.
Would those two things be connected?
Well, I don't know, dummy. Will you at any point recognize that this is normal procedure and that all of the emails that you're talking about are government property, and that Biden, having been vice president for 8 fucking years and a senator for fucking ever and a congressman, might know this? No, he was not.
Hello there, you 6.5 million awakening one.
Also, why do you have a 33 on your shirt? Because I know you can't be a Mason, and you certainly aren't a 33rd degree. I should do parody photos of these thumbnails. It's not a bad idea, because I can have my cake and eat it too. I'll just put the Munches scream next to everything. Just why? And aren't the Alex Joneses of the world, don't they think 33 is an evil number?
Thanks for joining us today for this voyage to truth and freedom. Turn on the...
No, that's not what's happening at all. And no, you don't get to do an ad.
Sorry, I'm actually called Russell Brand. Joe Biden has been using a host of pseudonyms, but don't get suspicious as a result of that. There's a whole host of reasons that people use pseudonyms, and let me talk you through them. Sometimes use a pseudonym to hide your identity because what you're involved in is either criminal, illegal, or shameful in some way. That's it. That's the only reason
No, that's not true at all. And by the way, unless his email is russellbrand@russellbrand.com, or every email he has his some derivation of his actual name, he's lying directly. Also, online, this motherfucker's name on Twitter is Rusty Rockets.
anyone would ever use a pseudonym. So let's get into this story, particularly as CNN have had to recently admit that Donald Trump was right when he said that millions were made from the energy deals between China, Ukraine, and the Biden family. How extraordinary.
And Kristen, Glenn Kessler.
Oh, this is Jake Tapper's take on it. This has been making the rounds.
From the Washington Post had a fact check about Joe Biden from earlier this month, noting that Hunter Biden admitted in court in July that he was in fact paid substantial sums from Chinese companies. Kessler wrote, Hunter Biden reported nearly $2.4 million in income in 2017 and $2.2 million in income in 2018, most of which came from Chinese or Ukrainian interests.
Well, the 2.4, no, most of it came from Ukrainian interests. Literally, we've looked at those numbers.
But this directly goes against what Joe Biden said.
No, it doesn't.
In the debate in...
No, it doesn't. Because the debate point that Trump was making was his son walked into China and walked out with $1 billion.
2020 with Donald Trump. Take a listen.
And by the way, the deal never happened with the CEFC thing.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
That's the 1.8 billion or the 1.2 billion.
What you none of that is true.
He made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
That is really, really inconvenient, I would say, for Joe Biden's support.
You know what's really inconvenient is, Russell, why you never bring up, and I'll do some whataboutism here because that's what this always seems to be with this dude. Why you never bring up Kushner's $2 billion? Or now, sorry, I beg your pardon. That's not fair. $3 billion now. It's $2 billion from the Saudis, but since it has grown to be a $3 billion wealth fund.
In Democrats to have Donald Trump and Joe Biden sharing a screen together and Joe Biden be the one that's lying, because Donald Trump is the one that's currently being indicted. Credit to CNN for showing this and bringing it up. Let's
Out of context.
see how they try to offer us panaceas, palliatives, mitigation, contingency. Oh, why is this okay when he does it?
So it's from two different debates, but I mean, Trump was right. I mean, he did make a fortune from China.
Look at how they're beginning to justify it. A Hunter Biden blind spot. Like, oh, all of us parents would make little efforts and fudge the facts for our kids. And God, I suppose I would, actually. But it's not a
Well, I'm glad you said that. All right.
blind spot when you're the president. It's a corrupt spot. Got a bit of a corrupt spot when it comes to saying my son didn't earn millions when he did earn millions. That's a lying spot. That's a measles. That's an
All right. Again, this is so aggravating. The first clip specifically is about Trump saying he walked into China and he walked out with $1 billion. And the CEFC deal that they talk about, one of the reasons why there was some money that came from that was for a deal that never went through. There was supposed to be a $40 million deal. It never happened. So the 10%, sorry to waste your fucking time money, got divvied up amongst the partners.
outbreak. That's one pandemic we can get behind.
And Joe Biden was wrong. I don't know that he was lying about it. He might not have been told by Hunter, but this blind spot is a problem.
All these bloody blind spots. Well, we can just put it down to a blind spot as long as Joe Biden hasn't been masquerading under a host of pseudonyms, because when someone uses a pseudonym, they're usually trying to hide what they're doing under that pseudonym. If, for example, you were buying an illicit substance and the person selling you that illicit substance, hey, what's your name?
Oh, you're speaking from experience.
My name is Rob Innocent Man. One would assume that you were using that pseudonym to conceal your tracks in making that.
Or you are incredibly well known to the general public and you couldn't possibly operate an email address using your real name. For honest to God.
Transaction, right?
Homer? Who is Homer? My name is Guy Incognito.
It's a problem, one, because Republicans aren't going to let it go, that's for sure. But
Oh, those Republicans, they won't let it go. Just because someone lies and is corrupt, they back
Get on with it.
about it. Unlike us, we, look at us with Donald Trump. Not tenaciously dogging the
I'm sorry, his name is John Barron. And this is good because it involves Jake Tapper.
Explosive new claim now designed to hit the president where it hurts, his wallet, or at least what he wants you to think is in his wallet. A former financial reporter for Forbes magazine today saying that years ago, the president repeatedly lied about the scope of his personal fortune, a charge that the reporter is backing up with newly discovered tapes. He claims are of Donald Trump himself. CNN's Alex Marquardt joins me now with more.
Okay, get to the point, would you? You bastard. Play the tape.
1984, the so-called
well consolidated, okay?
Yeah, here you go.
Trump's wealthy father, Fred, are in fact his. So he deserves a higher spot in the famous Forbes 400 list.
And it's been pretty well consolidated, okay? So that's one point that you can... Now, is that just is that including the residential? Yes, everything's been consolidated basically now, and over the last couple of years they've been working on it.
Trump, as himself, was in regular contact with former Forbes reporter Jonathan Greenberg, repeatedly arguing for a better ranking.
And then you mentioned other names, and there's no contest. There's no contest.
Greenberg didn't take
It's interesting that he puts on such a good voice. I mean,
Trump at his word, and Forbes decided to list Trump at $100 million, much lower than his stated value. Greenberg says later research showed he was worth under $5 million at the time and
Oh, shit.
didn't belong anywhere near the list.
He is a consummate con man. He figured out what he had to do in order to deceive me and get onto that list.
Or, I mean, we can hear the voice, dude. You were playing ball.
And he did it very well.
I don't know.
And he maintained that persona of just sort of talking about his assets without any sense of debt and lying about it.
Greenberg says he's only reporting this now because he just recently came across these tapes from the mid-'80s. He alleges that Trump repeatedly inflated his wealth by dramatically exaggerating the value and number of his properties.
He lied about there were 25,000 apartments in Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island. There were 8,000 apartments in Brooklyn and Queens. He lied about his father, that he owned all of his father's assets, and he borrowed against his father's assets.
Trump has long denied that he is John Barron or another alleged alias, John Miller, who would call gossip reporters.
By the way, I'm sort of new here, and what is your position? Well, I'm sort of handling PR because you get so much of it.
It didn't sound like me, though, really. You think that sounded like me?
Yeah.
I don't.
But then,
Over the years, I've used alias. If you're trying to buy land, you use different names.
What
and you
names
have an
would you
alias.
use?
I actually used the name Barron.
God damn, this dude is stupid. I actually used that name with the thing, with the whole, it's funny how that sticks out. So what was Rusty Trombone telling us, that the only reason you can use an alias is for nefarious reasons? David Dennison, right? That was
Guy to get him out of the presidential campaign. You know, it's like it's one role for them and another role for us.
But also, these problems are continuing through the legal system. It's not as though this is something that's been settled in other jurisdictions and Republicans are just harping on it. It is an ongoing thing in our courts. It's not going anywhere.
This is a blind spot.
It's a blind spot. It's a blind spot. That's how it works, isn't it, mainstream media now? They just give you phrases. Look out to see if you hear anyone going, oh yeah, admittedly, Joe Biden's got a bit of a, I don't know, how can I describe it? Corruption? No, that's not it. Lying? No, that's not it. Bad, lame duck president? No, that's not it.
Bad, lame duck president? That's where you're going, dude? Lame duck means he's been voted out of office and he's still got a few weeks or months before that it gets changed over. So you don't have the clout of having just been elected or actually being in your elected phase to do anything. And so, you become a lame duck after November 4th, like Trump did, for example, when he gathered a bunch of his followers in D.C. and sicked them on a bunch of police officers and Congress people.
Spot. That's what the TV told me. Blind spot.
Does it concern you as a Democrat?
Well, I think dads have sometimes, and parents sometimes have blind spots.
It's understandable. We're dads. We got blind spots. It's not like me today with my daughters when they sort of argue about who's going to wear what.
No, it's more like your parents during the period at which you were heavily addicted to drugs and involved in questionable sexual liaisons with women who were perhaps under the influence of drugs at the same time. See how that works? I don't care how you're raising your kids. Good on you. Who knows? Don't care. Let's talk about you.
And I'm like, God, I love these kids so much. Look, I'll get you one as well. This is corruption. This is lying. All the while building your forthcoming campaign around the corruption of your opponent. This guy's so corrupt. We have to do something about this.
He literally brought his wife, there's a Freudian slip for you, his son-in-law and his daughter into the White House for unpaid positions and allowed them to work out business deals while they were there. Off salary in the Oval Office all the time. That's exactly what happened. After 2016, that's exactly what happened. And what did you think he was going to stop because Joe Biden brought it up?
God, Hillary Clinton, smug and snug on Rachel Maddow. I
smug and snug?
Told you this would happen. Yeah, well, should we have a little look at that foundation? And what about this dude and Hunter Biden's business dealings?
Yeah, what about it? What about it? I mean, I grant you, go look at it, bring it up. Show me where the money got to Joe. Now, I will show you where there was a Chinese bank account that Trump admits to owning that was his, that magically after he killed TPP suddenly had $17 million in it. And he, while he was president of the United States, removed $15 million of it. Just made it, took himself a little running money. And especially for a guy who was supposedly worth less than $5 million at the peak of his financial strength. I'm guessing, you know, I was always baffled as to why a billionaire would even bother with $15 million. But I think it's because he's full of shit.
That many blind spots, I don't think you can be in charge of steering a country.
And parents sometimes have blind spots about their kids, for sure, and the president may be no exception.
But when it's convenient, they equate matters of international governance to the simple domestic relationships you might have with a child.
Well, it's because these aren't matters of international governance.
That's not fair. Not in this.
Well, no, you have to. All right. Again, this goes to the Dick Morris thing. There's no difference between Rusty Trombone and Dick Morris at this point. They're both basically the same
Where's
person.
Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yes.
What?
There is no quid pro Joe, and because they can't find that, or they won't even argue it, the idea is that any Hunter problems are Joe problems, no matter, you know, whether he was involved with it or not.
In this instance, you can't
And he wasn't.
map that onto it. You can see that the approach to this item is, this is not okay. How do we make it sound okay? Well, when have you done stuff that's corrupt in your life? Oh God, I suppose like I'd be corrupt if it was to protect my kid. Should we say that then? That's not good enough. That's not rigorous journalism. What they should be saying now, actually, because for a minute I thought, oh, it's good that CNN are including this because obviously they're addressing it, but they're not addressing it. They're trying to dampen it down, dilute it, and...
Or they're trying to puff it up for ratings because they know people will bite, but they actually don't have anything.
Obfuscate it live on your...
Sorry, Jake Tapper called out Canada for its vaccine rollout, blaming Trudeau, and it was a conservative provincial government. Yeah, well, this is during the Jake Tapper riding, riding high on the conservatives, tilt of CNN for a little while.
Donald Trump's got a blind spot, whatever it is you've got him.
Oh, the Tucker Trump interview? I suppose we could do that and then do the... Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We could do that and then do the debate tomorrow.
Up for this week, he's got a blind spot on wanting to win elections. He can't start using that. Those elections are like his kids.
Okay.
And he just likes to...
And he implicated in it.
There's a terrible whiff of that, isn't it? The whole place stinks of it. I feel like I've got my snout up Joe Biden's bumhole and he's just farting lies up my snout pipe. Now there's an image for you.
Snout.
And it's, I think it's not something the voters care a lot about.
Oh, the voters don't care about that.
Yeah, they don't.
That's you. When does the news turn into hypnotism? It's not the job of the news to tell you that you don't care about corruption and lying, is it?
What are you talking about? That's all we heard about Trump. The voters don't mind. They're so upset about these kitchen table issues. Fucking Bernie Sanders was telling everybody, look, the working class is so angry, they don't even care.
The job of the news is, here's some facts. I don't know what you think about it. You might think it's okay. You might...
Okay, so at least we've determined that you're not doing news.
Go, oh, it's any parent would do the same. Or you might...
Okay, this is just gonna... He's just gonna hammer this part of it. Are we getting to, like, emails at some point? Is he getting past this? Okay, let's get to the part where he's actually reading some of this. President Joe Biden... Where is this? Washington Examiner? He's fucking using the Examiner. All right. President Joe Biden's use of multiple pseudonyms during his vice presidency appears to have hidden some communications from that period. Okay.
News reporting.
Hid from who?
All this stuff going on. No
appears.
Wonder Joe Biden's using pseudonyms. President Joe Biden's use of multiple pseudonyms during his vice presidency appears to have hidden some of his communications from that period. Yeah. So that's the fucking point of them, including some involving, wait for it, Ukraine policy and his son, Hunter Biden. What an incredible coincidence. Almost as if he's trying...
Hey, it's, he's going to bring up the one that was the weekend of Bo's death, isn't he?
Trying to obscure and conceal his involvement in Hunter Biden's business deals. The House Oversight Committee asked the National Archives on Thursday for communications involving 3 of Joe Biden's aliases.
I see. So they have them.
Robert Peters, Robin Ware, and J.R.B. Ware. I think he's going to have particular trouble remembering J.R.B. Ware. Hello, it's me, Robin Peters, robbing the American public of taxpayer dollars to keep my son in business. Yes, that's how I can remember that, while I'm robbing the American public while my memory peters out. That's good. J.R.B.
Just old folks, ageism. Good stuff.
Beware. Wait, which one to use JRB and which one to use Robin? I'm JRB. Robin. Hunter, I got some bad news. JRB just shat his diaper. I hope Burisma don't find out about this. Well, to be fair, Dad, they do deal in gas. Call me JRB. I mean Robin. Oh, which one am I now? So it looks like Joe Biden, in order to manage his...
Well, I think the confusion here with our British friend is that he's under the impression that Biden was pretending to be these people as opposed to these were just email pseudonyms.
Complex life.
That were used on a government server for government business.
Has to have a number of special identities. Robin, JRB.
They're not identities. They're simply email addresses.
Well, if you're going to run as many identities as Joe Biden, you're going to need a lot of support. I'm a person who sometimes has to advertise magnificent products, not least because I've accidentally got myself in a pull-up competition with someone that should replace Joe Biden, good old RFK, the stacked, jack, buff, hench candidate for the presidency.
Hench?
Has challenged me to a pull-up competition that I'm probably going to lose. Have you been in a situation like that? In order to avoid global humiliation at the hands and huge, massive arms of RFK Jr., I've global humility I use to... It helps me help me remember all my pseudonyms. And turkesterone is my favourite.
There's no fucking way he's taking turkesterone.
It helps me build my muscle and enhance my performances.
What muscle? I'm not kidding. What muscle?
Next time you're going mano a mano with a member of the Kennedy family, I ask Nud, would you...
What? I'm not going mano a mano with the... Or even mono e mono. Ew. Again, for the record, what's the other one? What's the... NMN. Okay. What's the... What was... There had to be a third one, right? NMN. Turkesterone. Whatever the fuck. Like, again, shit he doesn't care about.
The committee sought correspondence between those aliases. That's funny how they're talking to each other. Robin, I got JRB on line 1. Hello,
okay, that's not...
Oh.
Dude, stop making up the... Like, again, you can't bitch about the news making up shit and then just make these weird mental cartoons out of this stuff all the fuck. God damn, this is lazy.
Presently public due to the publication of contents of a laptop he abandoned in a Delaware
allegedly
repair shop.
He didn't. There is no Hunter Biden laptop.
He should have picked that fucking laptop up again, shouldn't he?
Well, he didn't know he dropped it off because it wasn't his.
That laptop that we were told for ages was irrelevant, that it was Russian propaganda. Everything they don't like is Russian propaganda. I'm going to...
No, some of it's Chinese propaganda. But also some things you don't like are just things you don't like.
Watching Russian propaganda, I bet a lot of it's just bad stuff that Bidens have done. Several of those messages suggest Hunter Biden was looped in on preparations his father, in his capacity as vice president, was making for talks with Ukrainian officials.
Okay, yep, this is the email. This is where they included his schedule when they... they had a call to Poroshenko at the top of this email, but it was about his weekly schedule because he was going, it was the 1-year anniversary of Beau Biden's death.
2016. At the time, Hunter Biden was working on the board of a Ukrainian energy company. In one message from May 26, 2016, for example, Hunter Biden was copied on an email to his father from a staff member.
Yep.
Who was reminding the
May 30th, 2015 is the date of Beau Biden's death.
Then vice president that the following...
This was a Friday, and the vice president was leaving for the weekend, and they were going to have a long weekend because they had a memorial service on that Monday for Joe Biden's son / Hunter Biden's dead fucking brother.
The following morning, he would huddle with staff before a phone call with then Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. Why is Hunter Biden being copied in on government emails?
Because it had his weekend schedule attached to it. They sent it out to everybody. This is what you're doing today. And part of that was his schedule for the weekend, which included his plans with the family. Jill got it too. His son fucking died a year before. Good Lord.
If Hunter Biden's business dealings are not connected to the government, it seems particularly relevant.
Also, well, back to this. Hold on.
That he's on the board at Burisma, and it was a call with Petro Poroshenko, the then Ukrainian president. Wait, is that the president, or is that another one of my pseudonyms? Petro, is this you? Yes, this is me, Petro. Are you real or are you a pseudonym? I'm...
Fuck, this is lazy.
Been where? Oh, JRB, what am I going to do with these kids?
I would like to remind you that this is the guy who said that the news was becoming childish.
Hunter Biden was not frequently looped into such emails about his father's schedule, presumably only when it was relevant to his business dealings.
Or they had a memorial fucking service for his dead brother and family gatherings when he was part of the schedule. As the eldest living son now, because his brother was dead.
They're definitely not corrupt. I mean, we saw it on CNN. Everyone's got a blind spot. His inclusion on...
It's weird that they didn't include Bo in those anymore. Like, they used to include Bo in those. Why did they stop including Bo in those? It's funny. In those very same emails, Rusty, why the fuck don't they include Bo in those emails anymore? All right, because he's fucking dead.
Scheduling emails with Robert Peters, his father's pseudonym at that time, appeared to happen on just a handful of dates that corresponded to developments with Ukrainian policy. Almost as if...
They also corresponded with dates that were important to the family, like Bo's fucking death.
Joe Biden or Robert Peters' scheduling details with the Ukrainian president had some relevance to Hunter Biden and his business dealings.
Huh. And so is that why they only showed the one email that involves Petro Poroshenko that happened to also be part of the scheduling for Bo's memorial? And we're just supposed to take for granted that the rest of them that they found correspond magically with shit that happened in Ukraine? Never mind the fact that Biden was point man on Ukraine and several other things. So you could kind of, if you didn't give a fuck about Ukraine, let's just say magically the Republicans just decided they didn't give a shit about it anymore. You could have picked, you know, a myriad of other countries that were Biden's points that he was working on as vice president and just going, he had a meeting about that like 2 days before or 2 days later.
Joe Biden had already successfully pressured Poroshenko to fire Ukraine's prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, by the time the May 27th call occurred. Shokin had been investigating the energy company.
No, he hadn't. He had stopped the investigation.
That was paying Hunter Biden and his business associates significant money at the time. Luckily, that's the kind of thing that the American voters just don't care about, do you?
Luckily, you don't care to read any further than those lines.
Hey guys, you don't care about a vice president meddling in the eternal affairs of a foreign nation that later you go to war.
The eternal affairs?
When their son has a job working at a company within that country. That's the sort of...
You do realize that his son had a job in that country after Russia had attacked that country randomly, just like they did now. What does that time span and now have in common? Oh yeah, Russia attacked and Ukraine didn't do anything to start it.
I think that makes me, I'm so bored. We've all got blind spots, right, JR?
Fuck, this is just lazy. It's the same shit over and over again. Good Lord. It's like he's on a loop. Oi.